Okay, I have begun the recording. It is 7 p.m. and we're going to go ahead and get started. I have to navigate away from my screen. Uh, uh, so if anyone sees someone waiting in the lobby and they need me to admit them, can somebody just let me know, hey, you have somebody in the lobby, and I'll take a pause to admit them.
I'm taking care of that for you.
Okay, so are you able to admit people?
I am.
Oh, wonderful, perfect. All right, great. All right, well, get to my notes. Okay, so it is 7 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Want to see if any of our committee members are here yet. I don't see any of the official committee members. And just FYI, the official committee members are myself, Amanda Morris, and Leslie King. Uh, and again, I don't see any of them on just yet, but they may be joining later. We do have, it appears we have all of the board members on here. That's a blessing. But keep in mind, this is a finance committee meeting. So the board members are here for context and possibly a resource. But this is a working group of the finance committee to go over the draft budget that was presented. Just to give you a heads up on the agenda for tonight, I'm going to do a quick spiel about the familiarization. There's always three things that we go over in this finance committee meeting. We have a section for familiarization, a section for budget development, a section for research and analysis, and a section for open discussion. So we're going to start out with the familiarization. And today I just want to just do a quick little synopsis of the HOA configuration. Again, this meeting is being recorded. So for those that have maybe never attended a meeting and don't even really know what the HOA has been doing all these years, this is just a quick down and dirty rundown from a finance committee perspective. So first I'll talk about the HOA leadership. There's an HOA board of directors. These are elected officials that are elected by the homeowners. They include Lashana Spencer, Brian Creighton, and Theron Gore. Now the HOA also has officers, and these are officer positions that are selected or assigned by the board of directors. Now, our officers happen to be members of the board, but that's not something that has to happen. This is the way that it's being done right now. So in this current configuration, the president is Lashana Spencer, the secretary is Brian Creighton, and the treasurer is Theron Gore. The HOA also has committees. And the purpose of the committees is to support the board of directors in an advisory capacity, which is why one of the reasons we're here tonight. Now, these positions for the chairs of these committees are assigned by the board of directors. We have an architectural review committee that's chaired by Martha Henderson, a communications committee that's chaired by Nicole Moultrie, a community events committee that's chaired by Mallory Gore, a finance committee that is chaired by myself. I am Michael Spencer. I am not sure if we have a chair for the landscaping committee or if it even exists anymore. I believe those duties have been kind of up-channeled to the board due to lack of a volunteer to take over that committee. And that may possibly be the case with the Safety and Security Committee as well. Is there a member of the board that could speak to the Landscaping Committee and for the Safety and Security Committee?
This is Theron. The landscaping committee has been quote unquote paused, and those duties are being handled by the board. I can't speak to the safety and security committee.
Good evening. This is Brian Creighton, Senior. Same thing with the Safety and Security Committee. It's been put on pause until we get more participation.
Thank you both so much for that clarification. Now, the HOA consists of members, and every homeowner is a voting member of the HOA, whether or not they live in the community or not. If you own a home in Brentwood and you're renting it out, you're still an HOA member, and that means you have voting rights. We also have a management company that manages the day-to-day activity of the HOA. The company that handles those responsibilities is called Barkin Management, and our representative for this community is Era Ellis Rutland. A few of her responsibilities that relate strictly to the Finance Committee, here's a couple of them, and it's not limited to this, but these are some that I think are the most relevant to our committee. They draft the annual budget or help us to develop the annual budget. They administer contracts. They manage invoices / pay bills. And they also maintain a management company portal, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in this meeting. On that portal, it's a great resource. From that portal, you can get to the website that you can use to pay your annual HOA fees. You can submit architectural requests. And there's also reports, which is what we're going to focus on this evening. There are 2 reports that are available to every single homeowner. There's a monthly financial report, and then there's a monthly management report. And these are going to be some of the things that we use to help us to provide our guidance or input to the board when they are considering approving this budget. So I did want to reiterate the budget development timeline because I want to make sure this is clear to all of the homeowners. We gave Barkin Management a deadline of 15 August to have an initial draft of the budget for 2024. And that has been provided to the board of directors. And during this time, the board of directors has the opportunity to begin their initial review of this budget. Today is August 28th, and we, the Finance Committee, we are performing the task of conducting an extensive review of this initial draft budget. And our purpose for doing that, once again, as you probably know, is we want to provide our inputs to the board prior to 18 September. The significance of 18 September 2023 is that the final draft of the 2024 budget has to be submitted to all of the homeowners. This is going to give each homeowner the required 30 days to review this draft budget prior to the annual budget meeting. The annual budget meeting is conducted on the 19th of October, 2023. And during this meeting, the board of directors is going to vote to approve the draft of the budget. So that is the timeline for the budget development. And there's a few reference materials that I made available to the committee members, but I'll be sharing them on the screen this evening. The main one is the actual draft of the budget that was developed by Barkin. Another one is there's it's an Excel spreadsheet that I created, which is simply just a replication of the draft of that budget, because the budget that you probably see on the screen right now, it's a PDF. But because we are an active working group and we're going to be making suggested changes, we want to see what our recommended changes or how our recommended changes will affect the budget. So I just simply replicated the budget in Excel spreadsheet format. And this Excel spreadsheet format matches aesthetically, it matches how the budget looked when we published it in 2023. When I put it on the screen, you'll see that it'll look very similar to the finalized budget that we received from 2023. There's also the reports, like I mentioned, the financial report. We'll be referring to the financial report from June of 2023, because at the time that I was developing this, I don't think the July report was posted on the portal yet. I did want to take a pause really quickly to kind of foot stomp the fact that every homeowner should have access to the Barkin portal, and every homeowner should have access to these reports. What I can do is, well, as we go through the meeting, if any homeowner wants to try to just go to the portal, because again, this is an informal working group meeting that we're having tonight. So throughout the course of this meeting, if you want to try to go to the portal, see if you actually can view these reports. If you have a problem, it's best to identify that. Let our Barkin management representative know that you're having a problem either accessing the portal or viewing the reports, because this is what's given us our biggest form of context when we're reviewing the draft. The other report that we'll be looking at is the management report. I did have the one for July of 2023, so I'll be displaying that on the screen. I'll also be displaying documents associated with the reserve study, and we'll get a little bit deeper into that as the meeting goes on. So the actual reserve study is a PDF that I'll be displaying as well, and also I have a copy of House Bill 107, which gives the mandate for the reserve study. Now, these two reserve study documents have already been provided to the homeowner, so I'm not going to go through any steps to try to send this out to anybody, because everyone really should already have it. If you don't and you just want a copy, you can contact the Finance Committee, and I can send one to you directly. Something that I'm going to be working on. These are other documents that I'm going to be working on, making sure that the Finance Committee has the most current copy of our contracts. So we have contracts with several different vendors that provide several different services. For example, again, Barkin Management is we have our management contract, and our management fees and our management support costs are paid to Barkin Management. We have Amber's Disposal that takes care of our garbage and trash removal. We have Outdoor Creations, which takes care of our grounds maintenance and our pond maintenance, even things like the fence repairs that some of us may have noticed taking place was handled by Outdoor Creations. And then we have Hyper Landscaping. They are the ones that are contracted for our snow removal. We also have a company called Community Association Legal Services. They handle our collections for homeowners that have gone delinquent. We have Strauss and Associates. They handle our CPA services. We do business with Charles County government for paying our real estate taxes and or personal property taxes. State Farm takes care of our insurance. and our fidelity bond insurance and our property and liability insurance. And then there's certain companies that were invoiced. For example, Smeco invoices us for our electric bill. The Charles County government takes care of our mosquito control. And even Barkin invoices us for certain things that are not necessarily contract line items, like miscellaneous administrative expenses. And then we also have an attorney, a law firm called Michael S. Neal and Associates, and they take care of certain legal expenses for us. Excuse me. So I guess what I really want to do is go into the analyzing the budget, and what I want to show you is what you're seeing on the screen right now is page. This is just the cover page for the draft budget that Barkin has provided us. I also want to show you. Let's see. I want to stop sharing that for a quick second, and I want to share with you the version of the budget that I created in Microsoft Excel. Okay, so this version looks very similar to the version that we published at the beginning for 2023. So what I do want to do is I want to go over this pretty methodically, just so everyone understands what we're seeing. And I'll just start really right here at the top. Now, keep in mind, this is essentially a duplicate of the information that was provided in the Barkin draft. What I will do is I will bring that up really quickly just to show you the version that they presented to us. Now, there's a lot of information in this draft budget. A lot of things that I don't necessarily understand. I really just wanted to get to the bottom line. You see here in this table of contents, there's an executive summary, there's a proposed draft summary, there's a proposed draft budget 12-month spread, and then there's a proposed 2024 narrative. I do want to show you this because this is going to give you some good information. This highlighted area here. This is the part, and I'm going to try to make this a little bigger so everybody can see this, because this is going to give you essentially the bottom line up front. And this is kind of the down and dirty here. Right here, it's saying that the 2024 draft budget proposes the net 22% or $90,597 increase in annual assessments. And here's the important part. This will increase the annual assessment fees for 540 homes by $170 from $788 to $958 annually. So this is the crux of it. Just know that we're basing this, or Barkin is basing this on 540 homes. And then there's a brief description, and this is broad strokes here, but says this increase is primarily due to the following items: reserves and replacements, contract increases, repair and maintenance increases, professional services increases, administrative fee increases, and tax and insurance. There was actually a decrease in that. So this is what Barkin is proposing to the board. Annual assessments of $958 from the $788 that we are required to pay in 2023. This part here, this is more of a breakdown than what I needed. It's just showing you these percentage increases, but you don't really have the details here. This is a graphical representation, but you really want the details. Now, this gives you the details spread across, amortized for the whole year. but there's a more concise depiction that I used to compare with the version of the budget in Excel that I'm about to show you on the screen, and that's this right here. So what they did is, if you look in, I don't know if you can see my cursor moving up and down, but it's this FY24 budget. These are the 2024 budget numbers. And if this first column here shows you what was budgeted for in 2023. And then to the right here, you see the rationale as to why Barkin is suggesting these numbers. What I have done is I've taken all this information, and again, like I said, I put all of this in spreadsheet format. So I'm gonna go back to the spreadsheet because again, it is a replication of that same information. So if you look here, you have here this first line. It's letting us know that this is based off of 540 units. I do want to show you this column B here. Anyone that's familiar with the version of the budget that was published by Century Management being our previous management company, if you remember, they had these COA numbers, these category of accounting numbers. So what I did is I correlated the Century COA numbers with the Barkin reference numbers, so that if you wanted to compare the 2022 budget that you received with this budget, you would be able to compare apples to apples. And it was not super clear on what that was. So that's why you see these two different columns here. When you see the category here, it's just basically a description of what the income is or the expense. This column E is where I list what vendor takes care of the service that we're receiving. Now, these items that you see, you'll see certain items in red. Ignore those. Those were just notes that I was taking. So this won't be in red when it's officially published. If you look here in column F, you see the amount that was budgeted in 2023, which correlates with what Barkin says we budgeted for in 2023. This column here, column G, this is the 2023 actual year-to-date amount. And this is based off the information that you see in the June financial report. So although there is a July financial report, these numbers are based on the June financial report, because that's when at the time that I created this spreadsheet, I didn't have the July report. So I used the June numbers, and I just didn't go back and modify these. This column H is, these are the proposed budget numbers that Barkin is suggesting. So all of these should match. So if you look, you'll see 540 units. They are proposing that we would receive $517,117. Now this is based off, I don't want to make anybody dizzy, but I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. This is based off when they suggested the $558 annual assessment amount for 2024. Okay, and all this number here is, sorry to make you dizzy, this is just simply that number, that 558 times 540 units. So that's how they get this number. I'm going to go back down again. Hopefully I don't make you dizzy. But if you look here, this $558 annual assessment, that means we would be paying $239.50 quarterly. And as you can see, that's an increase from the $197 quarterly that we had in 2023. I did the per month because I always pay monthly, just because I just do. One thing that I do, and this is just a sidebar, I pay my HOA assessments a year in advance. So right now I'm paying for 2024. So right now I am paying approximately $79. Even though this isn't a published budget yet, because I have a desire to just be paid in full on January 1, and I don't feel like coming up with $958 in 1 month. So I'm just gradually paying the prior year I'm paying for the next year. Total sidebar, it's just something that I do, works for me. So we go back up here. Some of the things that, well, I'll say this. This is really all I want to show on this tab, because if you notice, or you may not be able to see it on your screen, but I have several tabs here. I have several different drafts of this budget. This is the Barkin draft. So what I'm proposing that the Finance Committee does is to present a Finance Committee draft to the Board of Directors for consideration with certain changes. So I'm going to switch to this spreadsheet. Now this tab of the spreadsheet, it's the exact same numbers, except there's some slight changes. The changes that you see is you see that there's a change here in the dues. The reason why there's a change here is because the first thing, well, as a result of the other changes that I'll get to, the annual amount is reduced from or reduced to $915, and I'll explain why as we go through this. And again, that would be $228.75 quarterly. But that reduces the amount of HOA dues as income. Another thing that I did is I added a column here that just simply, I just copied Barkin's comments from their PDF. And then I added a comments here. This really should say, I wrote board comments, but this is really Finance Committee comments. And then I added some additional details here as applicable. So if you look here, you already have the rationale of why, or the fact that the proposed income for HOA dues has been reduced. If you look here in line 11, you see this non-sufficient funds and late charges. Barkin says that 2023 averaged $4,500 quarterly, anticipating less late fees as fee communication increases in 2024. So they are speculating here, this number here of $10,000. Now, if you look here in column F, we had zero budgeted for this, but Barkin is suggesting, no, you don't want to put zero, because you want to make sure that you allocate, or they're speculating that we're going to have income from late charges. So if you take your HOA dues plus your late charges, the total operating income for 2024, as you can see here, $504,100. And then there's a line here for utilities, this section here. This is something that I did not know existed. We did not budget for this in 2023, as you can see. But there was year to date. Remember, F is your G is your year to date column. We've spent $149 on this, and this is for telephone and answering machine services. Now, you may notice here that I have C below here, because on the, remember in this column here, this is based off of the financial report. And in the financial report, they have this listed under utilities. However, column H, which is the proposed budget, this is based off of the proposed budget presented by Barkin. And they have it listed these utility fees or this particular charge here, they have it listed in another section. I might as well just get to that. I'll go right here. They have it listed under administrative fees, telephone and answering services, and Barkin is budgeting $600. So they're budgeting that. It says, as you can see, averaging $50 per month for management answering services. Again, we did not have this in the budget at all for 2023. Didn't even know that this was something that we were being charged for, or I didn't. So that's something that had to be added to the spreadsheet here. I'm going to pause really quick because I've been talking a lot. And before I move on to the contracted services, I want to ask if anybody has any questions. Because keep in mind, this meeting is not like the board of director meetings. In the board of directors meetings, they have very limited time. They are trying to address several different topics. The scope of what they're doing is much larger than what we're doing here. For this meeting tonight, all we're talking about is the budget. That's it. So I'm willing to stay on the line for as long as we need to, for everybody to have a clear understanding of what this proposed budget is. As you know, I'll explain what I can, but again, I'm learning just like other homeowners. But feel free if you at this time, if you have a question about something that we've talked about so far, specifically associated with the budget, you can let me know. I don't see anybody or hear anybody. Okay. Again, I can't really see the chat because I have this spreadsheet up. So if there's somebody in the chat that I'm not seeing, can somebody let me know?
Good evening, sir.
Hello. Can I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Yes. Who's this?
This is Mary Baylor on Linden Grove, and I just wanted to, hello, how's everybody doing? I just wanted to ask, in terms of the 2023 budget versus the proposed 2024, where does this put us in terms of the rears where we were dramatically short a year ago?
What do you mean?
As far as
What do you mean the rears?
people who weren't paying HOA fees. I wanted to know, is this budget going to bring us current or reduce what we were short dramatically? Because we went from 600 to 788 or something like that. Now we're going to 960 almost. So I just wanted to know where we, as far as that, and what kind of percentage are we looking for in the next budget? I mean, like what's going to be that ratio going forward each year?
So keep in mind, this is a budget is just speculation. So all Barkin is doing, and all we as the finance committee are doing, is we're speculating who may or may not pay, and speculating on what we would get in the form of collections. So I think you asked a multifaceted question because you mentioned something about us. I don't understand that term you're saying, in the rears. Can you explain that a little bit? What does that mean?
From my recollection, there were a lot of accounts that needed to be brought up to date because we had a lot of people that had not paid HOA dues, and we were going after them legally. I just didn't know what the status was of that and how far back are we? Do we still need to be bringing a lot of accounts up to date? Or is this proposed 24 budget going to bring us up closer to ratifying a lot of those accounts?
That's a totally different, I think that's a totally different subject. Hold on for okay, so I think that I think your question may be addressed in a line number that we're going to get to later on in this spreadsheet called allowance for doubtful accounts. and that's where we anticipate who may not pay. But keep in mind, there is an ongoing process of collections, which is why there's a line item expense for paying the attorney to go through the collections process. So in accordance to the criteria that has been established, once a homeowner is has a certain amount of a dollar amount delinquency, then the board takes action to rectify that. So I know that in this budget, like I said, you're going to see what we anticipate as the allowance for what we think will be people that won't pay, or a dollar amount of non-payment that we're going to have. But hopefully it'll explain it a little bit once we get to that line number. And if not, then you can let me know. But I did hear somebody else.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Marcus Trotter, Brentwood homeowner. Just to, I guess, to extend off what the previous homeowner was talking, and I guess the question would be, at some point, does the HOA fee level out, or do you anticipate it ever going back down to somewhat?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I got some horrible news for you.
Thank you. That was part of my question. Yeah.
It's horrible news. It's horrible news for you. It's horrible news for me. It's horrible news for every single homeowner in this community. The HOA fees are never, ever, ever going to go down. They're always going to go up. It was a tough pill for me to swallow. I wasn't expecting it to be almost $1,000 in 2024. After going through this, I mean, I'm feeling really, kind of upset, just like everybody else, because I don't want to have to pay it. But because of certain expenses, and this is not even just allowance for this. This is not even people that's not paying. Just the cost of things. It's going to continue to go up, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty at all. And I'm not going to be happy, and nobody's going to be happy. I don't want to speculate what it might be in 2025, but I'm more than positive nobody's going to be happy about it. It's never going to go down. I would caution anybody in having that thought in their mind. The reason why the HOA fees are what they are is a culmination of several things, not just people not paying. It's a culmination. And all of these things combined are resulting in the HOA fees. And it's really, I got to tell you, it's really just the cost of doing business. It took me a few days for this to get settled in my spirit, and I was having a problem, But when I looked at the numbers, I don't see any other way. I mean, this is just the cost. So, for example, like if you look here, if you see on your screen here, I got highlighted just the contracts, right? So you have this garbage and trash removal, amber's disposal. Now that's good because it didn't go up. So you look at the 2023 number, it's a little over 106,000. You see the 2024 number is 126,000. That's because it's based off of a number of units. So, for example, I believe, and I don't know if you can see this formula up here. It's probably very small on your screen, but you see here, I do things in formulas in Excel. You see here, G1 times 16.5 times 12. What that G1 is 540 units. You can go back up here and see it. G1, 540 units. So all that is 540 units times $16.50 per unit times 12 months. That equals $106,920. It's the same in 2023 as it is in 2024. So that's just the number. There's really, unless they renegotiate the contract, which I'm sure if they do, it's going to be more than $16.50 per unit, just because stuff be costing. inflation. I mean, so that's the number for the Amber's disposal garbage removal contract. When you look here, the grounds contract, that's done by the vendor is Outdoor Creations. I'm seeing some stuff pop on my screen, but I don't know if that's somebody chatting.
So
if you,
Mike, I got my hand up. This is Theron.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the lady's name who asked the question, but I agree with Michael 100%. I'm the treasurer on the board. But if you look at the summary from Barkin, the biggest increase is because of the reserve and replacement. That increased by 222%. That is something that no one has any control over. That is a Maryland state law that requires us to put that money into the repair and replacement fund. So that is the biggest reason why the dues are going up, and that's the biggest reason why the dues will never be the same from year to year, because the law requires X amount to be placed into that account, and that comes from the dues. So that is the biggest part. If you look at the summary, 222% increase. That's the biggest reason for the increase. So we talk about people not paying their dues, like Michael said. We can only guess who's not going to pay. The board and the attorneys aggressively try to collect those back dues, but just to be honest, just the time that I've been on the board, it's not an easy thing to do. It is not an easy thing to collect. There are liens put on people's houses, everything, but it's still not an easy thing to just say. But I want everyone to be aware that the board is doing everything in their power to try to recoup those fees. But the biggest burden that we have and the biggest reason for the increase in dues is because of the replacement reserve that is required by law.
Does everyone see
I
that
have
on
a
the screen
question.
here?
I have a question. I
Oh, go
have
ahead,
a
ma'am.
question. If you could, my name is Mary. I'm over in Brentwood, and if you could put that screen back up again, and I do apologize to everyone. I clicked on late because I just found out about this meeting late. I apologize, but it's just in the middle, based on what I saw on that screen before the graph that you had up with the cost of dues and all of that. For me, I tend to agree with the young lady that spoke first about, what is going on and who's not paying and all of that. Because since I've been here, and I've been here since 2008, there has been a significant increase in the amount of our dues. And now I do understand cost goes up every year, but in some instances, if I saw that graph correctly, it seemed like, I think, I still don't see it up, but I believe it had something to do with the landscaping, where if I read it correctly,
Let's see.
It looked like back in 2023, 2021, it was $900 something, and then it jumped to almost $4,000. Did I see that correctly?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about the spreadsheet?
Yeah, this is the spreadsheet, the one that you had up a few minutes ago, right? Yeah. Okay. It's kind of moving, so I can't keep up with it.
Okay, I'll stop moving. Stop moving.
Okay, so yeah, I'm my cell phone, so I'm trying to do this from my cell phone.
Yeah, I can help you with that.
Okay, go down. I'm trying to roll it up a little bit past the net operating. Up above the net operating profit loss.
So I think was it Miss Mary? Is that your name? Sorry.
That's right.
Again, Theron Gore on the board. I was also on the landscaping committee. I know what you saw. You saw the landscaping fees. They did increase significantly over the years. We were in a contract, and at that time, the contract expired. I was on the landscaping committee. We requested bids for proposals. And even the hyper landscaping was the contract we had prior to the new contract, which was the $450 you see on the screen. When all of the proposals more than doubled. Hyper, I believe, don't quote me the exact number, the cost was about $60,000 for the contract we were in with them at the time. They came back with the lowest bid, and it was like $109,000, something close to that. And we went with Outdoor Creations. Don't quote me on 109, but they all came back significantly higher. So I get the red flag going up. Why did the landscaping increase? It increased because that's what the bids came back as. Everybody's increased. So, but
Okay, so am I correct? And again, I apologize for being late, but when I look at Outdoor Creations, if I'm reading this correctly, you moved it again. 2023, it looked like it said $900, and then it jumped up to what, $22,000 for landscaping, and I really don't see any difference in what's happening. It's not like we have a beautiful layout with flowers blooming everywhere. The only thing I do notice is that, you know, they put the mulch out in the springtime and they keep the common areas cut. So I guess my other question is, why is that such a significant cost? And is that the only way we could have gone? Because that's a huge impact on what we pay monthly. I mean, I moved here when HOA fees were $500, and now you're telling me that it's almost $1,000 that I have to pay?
All right. And here's an example. This is Shantae. Sorry. Here's an example is that these things are it's just like when I first moved here, when I got a quoted for a fence, it was $7,000, but then a year later it was $15,000 because of the inflation of things. Everything has significantly gone up, and this is no different. The landscaping is no different. And that's what, you know, but that's a small piece of why the budget has gone up. Like you said, the biggest increase is because of the Maryland state requirement. That's where the increase is coming from. I understand everyone is getting caught up in, you know, why are these numbers going up? But these numbers are in line with the industry. So it's not like
I have no problem with things going up because I understand inflation. But I also understand that, you know, everybody's hurting at this point. And to see an increase from $900 one year to $22,000 the next year, that's a bit more. And I would have to question whether or not we could still find.
Are you seeing the 900 and the 2,200? I don't see where you're seeing that.
Okay,
I don't know what you're looking at.
Slide your screen up, please, to, I believe it was Outdoor Creations.
I have it highlighted right now.
Okay. I saw something a few minutes ago, and again, like I said, I can't. I'm only asking questions because I did come in the middle of it.
Okay.
But I saw something. I believe it said 2023. It said $900, and then proposed, I assume, was 2024. And I thought I saw something that said $22,000. So please help me understand if I am incorrect.
I am not seeing what you're seeing.
You had it highlighted in red.
I don't know. We'll go down. We'll go down line by line. We'll go down line by line, and then if we get to it, you'll be able to see it. But for right now, right. So right now we're looking at the grounds contract, the notes from Barkin.
Michael.
And again,
I see what she's saying. Mike, I know what she's saying. She's looking at the pond. She's looking at the pond maintenance line. That was pond maintenance. Mm-hmm. That's not the contract. That was maintenance.
No, yeah.
It's the pond.
That's it. 900 to 22.
So how about this? We'll get down to that eventually. Let's just go line by line, and we'll do it methodically.
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So again, this is the grounds contract.
Michael, I hate to interrupt before you go too far, but you got two hands up in the chat.
Okay. There's no real formal way, so you can just start talking.
Trevor had his hand up first, and then Brian. Trevor, then Brian.
Okay, this is Treva. I just have a quick question. So the Maryland Reserves law tells us that we have to have a minimum amount in the reserves every year, correct? Is that, I understand that correct?
I'm going to let you know that it is a very complex topic. Once we get to that line number, I will explain it extensively. It'll be down lower on the spreadsheet. Okay, and when we get to that, I'll show you a lot because there's a lot of misconception on that, and I want to explain that in great detail and specificity, okay?
Right, and that I get, but it just seems like if it's the law, you got in my understanding that people have been living here since 2009, and your HOA fees have not gone up in about 14 years. So we were not, so my assumption, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, we were not meeting the requirement of the law in years past.
So like I said, I'll get, Yeah, I'll get to that when we actually talk about the reserves, but it was not a mandate
Okay.
10 years ago.
Okay,
It was not a mandate. This is a new Maryland law, and I'll bring it up on the screen too, just to show you. Okay, once we get to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who were the others?
Yeah, this is Brian Lindsay. Hey, I heard one of the ladies speaking earlier about I understand the fees go up, understand inflation and cost and things like that. No problem. My one thing that I see is like somebody was speaking, talking about the entrance to our neighborhood, and hey, they maintain the flowers and this and that, but we're paying this much money for a certain look as you come into the community. But since I've lived here, and I've only lived here a couple of years, a lot of folks been here a lot longer than I have. Since I've lived here, they have done pretty much no work to the fence, whether it's the entrance, whether it's down the road a little piece or whatnot. So I guess we raised enough sand to where they finally turned around and put a couple pieces of plywood out and didn't even care to paint those things. So I understand all that, but it's like typically you pay for what you get. We're paying a pretty good penny to live in a neighborhood. However, where's the quality of work? Why is the fence dry rotting, but we're saying HOA fees going up? So that's my problem. I understand all the other things. Gas is up, groceries are up. Understand that. But when you pull into this neighborhood, why is our fence two different colors and we can't get it painted? Or by the time it is time to paint it, the wood that they replaced it with is dry rotten. And they've been talking about that fence since my wife and I moved into this neighborhood.
So
And
Brian,
it's like, come
Brian,
on.
let me help you with that. So the fences were put there in the beginning in the vintage development. We've been working for a while to get those fences repaired. Again, my name is Theron Gore on the board, treasurer. And even when I was on the landscaping committee, we've been trying to get this done for quite a while. We started this process before we transition management companies. So when we transitioned, that the ball got dropped in the transition. So that's why the fences are just getting repaired. So the developer put those fences in. No work was done to them until now, and we're working on them. And as far as the paint, we've already went back to Outdoor Creations and asked them to paint the boards and to replace more of the rotten boards in the front or rotten boards throughout. So, but just so you know, that's all a cost, and that wasn't built into the 2023 budget. So the repair of it, everything there. I mean, this is the budget is not a for-profit budget. So everything we build into the budget is spent, and we did not budget for those fences to be repaired. I do believe that we did add a line item in here for future years to maintain the fences. But just be aware that the board has only been under control of homeowners for a few years. And prior to that, it was under the developers. And the developers, just quite frankly, in my opinion, they didn't do what they were supposed to do to maintain it.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it, but again, we've only been living here a couple of years now, and this was a conversation last year. Like the lights in the neighborhood as you come into it, that was a conversation. But it's like, okay, the fees are going up. We hear all the reasons why, but I'm still looking at the same fence. And I understand what you're saying. Trust me, I do. I got it. I know it's not easy, but it's like, come on. If you put a tan piece of wood up, but the fence is black, and I gotta get with you to tell you to paint it, like, come on, why'd you put the tan?
Trust me, Brian. That's exactly what I said when I met with OC. That's exactly what I said. I said, you take down a blackboard, you should have put a blackboard back.
Thank you.
So I figure, and just everybody on the board is a homeowner. So we feel the same pain. We're paying the same dues as everybody else. We're not being compensated for anything we do. So we feel, none of these increases are anything we want to hear either.
Yeah, I understand that. But hey, I got it though. I'm not gonna beat it up, but man, I'm like, God, can we get a fence for $788 a year?
And to be honest, I asked them about replacing the fences, and you don't even want to know. You don't even want to know what that would do to the. Like, you want to.
Right.
Really. So think about everything. When we hear people talk about, let's build a pool, let's build a rec center. Do you not want to know what that's going to do to your dues? So I specifically asked. I asked about vinyl. I asked about replacing all of the fences, and it's just astronomical. Like it literally, like you. I mean, you literally might have to add $200 to every person dues to get that done.
Oh my goodness.
What about the signage? And as you come in, the O has been like that for 4
We're
years. It's fading.
we're
I mean, it's little things that I wish
so I don't
if
want to.
I had
I
my
don't want to
art
hijack.
tool,
I don't
I
want to
would do it
hijack
myself.
Michael's
You know what I
meeting.
mean?
Yeah, but I don't want to hijack Michael's meeting. But that is that is in the works of being repaired as well. It's just nothing happens.
I'm with my neighbor here. This has been a 4 year, well, for me, 4 year conversation, literally. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Nothing happens fast because I mean it is what it is.
yeah.
But
Hey,
but
only one thing happens fast is the fees go up.
Yeah.
and
And if you
again,
don't pay your fees, you're gonna get an email.
Well, real quick, Michael, can you freeze the category name so that we'll know what each charge is for?
Yeah, let me see if I remember how to do that. So
Thank
you
you.
highlight it and then you go, is it under view? Freeze
Yes.
panes?
See where it's
Yes,
yes.
freeze
Freeze
panes.
freeze panes.
Yes.
You want to
Yeah.
freeze the top row.
Okay. There you go.
There you go. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay, y'all got it? Okay, good. Got it. Okay. All right, thanks guys. Okay, so again, this is what this meeting is for. This is, we usually don't get to exercise this much candor and have this much time to express ourselves during board meetings because that's just really not the forum for it. But this finance committee, this is a good forum for people to uh, provide suggestions or even seek clarification on certain things where we can actually go through methodically and line by line and try to understand the rationale behind some of these things. I want to uh, uh, want to thank the board members that are on Brian Creighton, Theron Gore, and Lashana Spencer, and for their willingness to address some of these questions because this is not their committee. They don't have to be here. This is just they're just here, and if they have to leave early, like I don't mind being on this call however long, but I'm sure they all have lives and they may have to drop off. But if they weren't here, it would just be our committee talking about these things and then making our recommendations to the board. So I really do appreciate their input and I appreciate their presence in this meeting. So I'm going to continue going on here. Line 21, you see here hyper landscaping. This is a snow removal. So if you notice here, the 2023 budgeted number is $450, but the 2024 budgeted number is $4,920. Well, this is why. I don't know if you can read this. I know it's probably pretty small on your screen, but it says hyper landscaping contract is $1,500 for pre-salting, $140 for plowing all of the roads, $140 per hour for plowing the pavilion parking lot. Recommend budgeting for 3 significant snow occurrences. So that's the rationale behind this increase because it really I don't believe we funded it properly last year and it kind of got us in hot water in trying to pay for. Well, I don't even know if we had any significant snow events last year, but if we had, we probably would have been in some trouble. So just to show you how this is laid out, this section here that I have highlighted, it's just the contracts. These are each individual contract, and this is the total amount for contracts. And when you look at the budget, you'll see that Barkin sent out the PDF. You'll see that these numbers would match. I will move on to the repair.
Michael, before you move on, could you explain why we have to do snow removal?
Oh, okay. So basically, what happens is while the developer is still in control of a particular section that they are building houses on, the developer is responsible for uh, uh, plowing the snow. But I believe that once, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Theron, once certain areas are turned over, then that responsibility shifts. And I know that the county has no responsibility whatsoever in plowing our pavilion area. That's why you see here, I don't know if you can see it here, but the $140 per hour for plowing the pavilion parking lot. Now, Theron, can you explain a little bit more about the turnover of responsibility of the roads?
I'll do my best, and Brian, you may have to back me up. The county is responsible for clearing the roads, but the pavilion and the common areas are the HOA's responsibility. Because if someone was to fall and get hurt or whatever, then the HOA is liable. So that's why the community the common sidewalks and the pavilion are we have to clear those. Brian, did I miss anything, Brian?
No, actually, Theron, you're spot on. I will just add and we do have supplemental plowing for the streets in case we do get a bad snowstorm. As many of us know who are residents here, who are owners here, the county will come in and only give a one pass. That may not be sufficient. So again, Hyper will come in and actually do a better cleanup or do as best of a cleanup as they can so we can actually get out maybe to work or to the grocery store. Just wanted to add that piece.
Thanks, Brian. One thing
Yep.
I wanted to ask, and Rachel asked the same question. So if we don't have that, we don't need to spend that money in snow removal. What happens to it? Because we budgeted for it, we paid for it. What happens to that amount at the end of the year if we don't use snow removal? I guess specifically the question is, does that go in our reserve, in our replacement account?
Who's that question for?
I'm asking in general. I mean, that may be something we need to go back to Barkin and ask. What happens to if we budget for a certain amount of money and we don't spend it, what happens to that money? Does it go into reserves? And I guess that's something that we can find out. If you don't know it, Michael, then that's something that I will take and try to find out from Barkin. What happens if we don't use that 4,900?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Theron. Hi, Theron. This is Lashana. We have not had that occur since the homeowners have taken over the board. And usually what happens is when there are funds that are not spent in a certain category, there's a need in another category, and the board has the flexibility to move those funds to where they're needed. So in this case, if the um, total money allocated for the snow budget is not used, and let's say we went over on legal fees, because that's something that happened last year because we were trying to recover delinquent accounts, then the board has the liberty to move that surplus to that line item to cover the attorney's fees. But that is something that the board has the liberty to decide and delegate, because this is just a budget for us to go by. It's not written in stone.
Thanks, Lashana. I now that you say that I do remember that now. So yeah, so it makes sense.
So Lashana, can you provide some insight? Is there typically usually some sort of deficit in some other area where that's needed?
Yes.
Okay, just I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. All right.
Brian,
I'm looking.
Brian, let me give a quick example. I said Brian. I'm sorry, Michael. Give a quick example of where that might be used. So we're having to pay to remove some trees from the common areas because they're encroaching and they're dying and they may become a hazard to someone's property. We can't really budget for that. So that's kind of where we would swap money or move money if we didn't spend to something like that, because we can't really plan how many trees that we're going to have to remove to protect someone else's property. So that's just an example of how that money would be moved to another account in order to take care of something that we didn't plan for.
Okay. All right. Are we clear to move on to repair and maintenance costs? And nothing. I'll go ahead and move on. If you look here, you see this Electricity, this is SMECO. The 2023 budgeted amount was 33,500. We've spent 20,515 year to date, and the budgeted amount for 2024 is 35,100. Now, the rationale behind this is that Barkin is providing for this projection is the average monthly electric bill in 2023 was $2,923. So that over the course of 12 months would be your $35,100. That seems pretty straightforward. So they're basically basing it off of the invoicing that we're getting from SMECO. And let's go to the extermination-common. This is for mosquito control. So in 2023, we budgeted $1,800 for this. We've spent $1,406 year to date. That was for the treatment that we got this year. And we're budgeting for $1,500 for 2024. So this is based off, and I don't know if you can see these notes, but the actual amount that we got invoiced by Charles County was only this 1,406. So that's why they just rounded it to 1,500. I thought that I saw a contract for 1,800, but apparently I was mistaken. They've only charged us about 1,406, so we're budgeting 1,500. This is because we have all these ponds, and standing water equals mosquitoes, and malaria is back in the United States. So go figure. Let's see. We'll go down to irrigation. This was for outdoor creations. We had budgeted $1,500. Now, in the Barkin budget, Barkin's version of the budget, that's line 26. I'll try to get to that. They had that same 1,500 budgeted here. But what my suggestion to the board is to make that zero. And the reason why is because we don't have, first of all, we didn't pay any in 2023, and we don't really have an irrigation system cost. I don't see that as an actual expense. So I believe the reason why Barkin put that at 1,500 is because that's just what we had budgeted for in 2023. This is a potential cost savings line item that explains why our annual fee is reduced from the Barkin version to the Finance Committee version. That's one of the things. We're back to, I'm sorry, before I go to that, does anybody have any questions on that? Because I know that's a weird topic. And I know there was some back and forth on the board about that, but okay, I'll move on. Pond maintenance. So this is the one that we've already addressed. I won't really get too deep into that, except I will say that what Barkin said is, and again, I don't know if you can read this, but it says have all 11 ponds cleaned annually at an average of $2,000 per cleaning. So that's the 2,000 times 11. That's your 22,000. Pretty straightforward. Trail maintenance.
Michael, let me add real quick because Miss Mary was asking about the pond maintenance. The reason why the cost is going up so much, the ponds are in desperate need of maintenance. We have beavers, you have dams, you have vegetation, and the county inspects those ponds, and they require us to keep them a certain way. So that's why it's going up, because the ponds are in need of a lot of maintenance, and it's required by the county. This is not something that we just decided to do. The county comes out, they inspect it. If they're not up to code, then we get a fine. So that's why that number is going up so much.
Okay. All right. I'll move on to trail maintenance. Again, the vendor here is Outdoor Creations. In 2023, we budgeted $2,675. And in 2024, we budgeted $2,000. Barkin's rationale is recommend quarterly inspections, spending 500 per quarter. So that's where they got the $2,000 for the trail maintenance. The fence repair. So here we budgeted in 2023. We budgeted $2,650. In 2024, there's 6,000 budgeted. The reason for that is recommend quarterly inspections, spending 1,500 per quarter in quarterly repairs. I think it's pretty, painfully obvious that the fences were never repaired, and now we want to start budgeting for repairing the fences so they never get in the condition that they're in right now. We'll go on to ground services. This is outdoor creations. We budgeted $6,000 in 2023. 6,000. Barkin didn't change our budgeted amount. It's just saying in their notes here, implemented 2023 budget of $6,000 for the year, including costs for vegetation, tree removal, and beaver removal. And then you have this. Now there's this snow removal additional, and it's still with hyper landscaping. But if you look, it's a smaller amount. You see the 2023 amount was $3,775, but the 2024 proposed amount is $900. So here's the rationale. Hyper landscaping contract has a shoveling of common areas, sidewalks at $30, budgeting for 3 snow incidences. So that's the rationale behind why they say they believe we only really need to budget $900 for this amount. And if you look here, the total repair and maintenance costs go from 2023, they go from $62,700 to $75,500. And year to date, we've spent $28,096. Does anyone have any questions about repairs and maintenance specifically?
I do have
And
a
again,
question.
I can't see my screen, so
I have a
go
question
ahead.
as far as the snow removal, like the sidewalks will be considered like one of the common areas, correct? Like in front of the homeowner's property. That's that sidewalk where the mail boxes are at.
No, sir.
The common areas are the sidewalks in front of the community property. Just say, for example, you're driving down Linden Grove going out towards Bancroft. Those fields to the left and the right where have sidewalks on both sides. That's what we have the responsibility to clear. The sidewalks at the pavilion, the sidewalks in front of the community, the common areas. Homeowners are responsible for cleaning the sidewalk in front of their house.
Understood.
Yes. Okay. Anything else on repair and maintenance?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Who is this first?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Milner, and I'm a homeowner in Brentwood. My question as it pertains to the fence repair. I know last year we talked about this repair being an issue, and if I'm looking at the budget, it said you budgeted for $2,650 and $0 was actually spent on any repairs.
Well, year to date. Now that doesn't mean, because I don't believe that the repairs that have currently taken place, I don't think that they're reflected on this report.
They are not.
So remember, so this column here, this year to date column here, this is based off the June of 2023 financial report. So you'll if you bring up the once the August report comes up, you are probably going to see an actual number in this year-to-date amount for 2023. It just hasn't show. It didn't show up on this version of the report that I had.
So Michael, so this is Theron again. So it's because we haven't paid them. And back to Brian's statement earlier, after we saw the board recognize the job that was done, we told Barkin not to pay him until we were satisfied. So that's why it's
Oh,
saying
so you haven't even paid them yet.
we have not paid him yet, and that's why it's saying
Okay.
zero. And it's going to be more than $2,000. I think it's in the neighborhood of $8,000 right now. So that's another one of those examples where we budgeted 2,650, but I think it's currently around 8,000. Don't quote me on that exact number. And then we will need to pull from somewhere that we did not use, perhaps the snow removal.
So since we're not getting the quality of work that we're asking for, is it fair to say that we need to pivot and look for a new contractor? Because again, coming into Brentwood community, the signs, if you compare them to neighboring communities, it's below average.
So it's two different things. You're talking about two different things. You're talking about the fences and the quality of work. So let me address that first. So we went back.
This have been an issue when we had this board meeting last year.
I got it. So maybe you missed the beginning of the meeting where we said that we've been working on this for a while, and during the transition from management companies, the ball was dropped. So we had to start the process. We had to start the process over again. So
that's just unacceptable to a homeowner that the ball was dropped when last year we were discussing increases in our dues, and to hear as a homeowner that the ball was dropped, that's an unacceptable answer.
And that's why we left that management company, because they dropped the ball. Okay. That's why we're no longer with that management company.
That's
it
fair.
wasn't the board's.
Okay.
It wasn't the board's ball that got dropped. So that is a major reason why we pivoted to someone else.
Okay.
And just so you know too, we don't just go with one contractor. We put out a proposal for bids, and then we go with the best cost for the job. So OC is the contractor for this job. They're working with us. They're trying to get those up to our standards. But as far as the signs, we want to compare signs to other communities. Again, the developer starts this community, and that's the sign that they put in. And if we want to change the sign, then we would have to add another line item and figure out how much that's going to cost to change the sign, i.e., increase more dues. So I get it. We compare our community to other communities, and you look and you say, well, why didn't the developer put in a bigger sign? Well, now that we have this, now we are in control. If we want a different sign, then we got to pay for it.
Got you. Okay.
Anything else on repair and maintenance? Hearing none, I'm going to go on to the professional services section. So the first line item for professional services is the management fee. And remember, our management company is Barkin Management. The 2023 budgeted amount was $56,700. The proposed amount for 2024 is $59,873, and we've spent $28,350 year to date. There's a contract that we signed with Barkin that and here's a long explanation about how the actual management fee is scheduled to increase from year to year. I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but it's just the bottom line is baked into the contract are annual increases. Like what Theron said, we did change management companies. This is why I have this column B as in Bravo here for Century. That's the Century category of accounting numbers. And then column C is the Barkin reference numbers, so that when you go back to your old budget from 2019 or whenever, and you see that the management fee had a COA number of 8020. Hey, wait a minute, that doesn't match what this number is, the 6320. It's because it's a totally different management company, totally different contract, totally different fees. The board through an ad hoc management committee went through the process of selecting the new management company, and these were the terms that were negotiated. Again, I will say this again. I am in the process of getting current copies of all our current contracts and our current invoices, because some of these line items can be categorized or documented in contracts, and others we are invoiced. But we need to, as far as this committee goes, make sure that we're clear which things are dictated under contract and which things are under invoice. Let's see. You see here management support. It's with Barkin. The 2023 number was 2950. The 2024 number is 2500. Their rationale is nothing. Since nothing had occurred year to date, budgeting 2,500 for property management annual inspection, if requested by the board. So, what they're saying here is this is for if the board chooses to do an annual inspection of the community in 2024, this line number will cover those costs. I'm not sure if the board is planning on doing a inspection of the community, but if not, then there will be no cost coming out of this line number. And again, as you see in 2023, year to date, the year to date number is 0 because I don't believe there was any type of inspection done in 2023. I'll move on to legal expenses. The firm is Michael S. Neal and Associates. So you see an increase here from 2023 to 2024 from 6,750 to 8,200. Now the reason, so we use it says here the average $1,000 quarterly for delinquent accounts and $200 monthly for legal advice. Recommend budgeting $3,000 for new resolutions or updating bylaws. So to my understanding, there's been a lot of interest in among the community of updating our bylaws and other governing documents. Well, that costs money, so they wanted to make sure that they budgeted for that. The board wanted to make sure that this was budgeted for, and this is why Barkin put this as a line number on the budget, a line item on the budget. I'll move on to legal fees / collections. There's a firm called Community Association Legal Services. This is the company that we pay for to go after the people that aren't paying. The rationale here is an average $50 per month in 2023. That's how much it averaged. So they just said, why not? We'll just say $600 for 2024. That's how much is being budgeted for. So what they want to make sure that they're doing, and I'm speaking of the board here, they want to make sure that they account for the costs of going after homeowners that are not paying their HOA fees. And I want you to keep in mind that this is something that when the developer was the HOA, they just simply were not doing this. They would let people go literally years without paying their HOA fees. So now the board, the current board, has to deal with people that have thousands of dollars in delinquencies. And they're trying to go after this money from these homeowners who have been accustomed to not having to pay, because when the developer was the HOA, they just simply didn't care.
And Michael, this is LaShawna. I'd like to add some additional clarification to why we have two law firms. So both of these law firms, MSN and CALS, were inherited from the developer. For those of you that were here during the transition from the developer to the homeowners being in control of the HOA, there was very little time, and we did not have time to research new attorneys. So we inherited both of these law firms. The reason why there are two is because the developer had to, and we looked into getting rid of CALS, Community Association Legal Services. But the cost to move those cases, which were down to about 5 cases now that are with this law firm. The cost to move that was astronomical, to move all the cases to MSN. So we decided to leave the cases with Community Association Legal Services, which again, we're about down to 5. I think it may have just went down to 4 cases that are only there now. And we're going to let those age out, and then we will no longer be working with that law firm. All new cases are going to MSN, Michael Neal and Associates. So that is the backstory on why we have 2 law firms, and that is the plan to only have 1. We're going to let those remaining accounts age out, and then we'll be down to 1 law firm.
So when you say age out, what does that mean? And how long, I guess it's a 2-part question. How long does a delinquent account stay delinquent before you can't even go after them any longer?
So good questions. When I mean age out, so we started out, I can't remember how many there were with this law firm, but let's just say there were 10 with this law firm. So as they collect the money, there's several different things that happen when we try to recoup these fees that are delinquent. Sometimes the houses go into foreclosure, sometimes the homeowner files for bankruptcy. We put liens on the houses. A number of things happen. And unfortunately, this all takes time. And the attorneys, we have told them to be as aggressive as possible, but there are legal requirements that have to be followed. So when I say age out, it means once we can resolve a case. So we started out, let's say, with 10. Now we're down to 4. So those other 6 accounts aged out, or we were able to resolve them and close them.
Okay.
I cannot give you an exact time frame on what happens because there's a legal process we have to go through. We have to give them certain amount of notification. We have to give them notices of what the next steps are that we're planning on taking. If they agree to a payment plan, then they're on the payment plan. But then if they default on the payment plan, then we have to start over. If they file bankruptcy, if they lose their job, they can appeal to the court, the district court for hardship. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. There's no way I can give you a timeline, but the board has told the attorneys to be aggressive in trying to collect these delinquent accounts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, can you clarify something? When you say we resolved the case, does that mean we got the money?
Either we receive the money, we have been collecting money and we have been getting checks, or the house goes into bankruptcy and then unfortunately the HOA is the last person on the totem pole to get any money. So if they still owe on the mortgage, then the bank is going to get their money first, et cetera. If we are able to recoup some of our costs, we do. And sometimes we actually have to write some of it off on the taxes. So depending on the situation, any one of those number of things can happen, but it ends up being closed out. That account gets closed out.
Got it. All right.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
So I just want to. I'm glad that we have so many people on this meeting tonight. These are the type of things, and LaShawna just gave a lot of knowledge. These are the type of things that people need to be aware of, and that's why these meetings are important. So you can get this knowledge and understand that we see Facebook posts all the time about people saying, "Oh, they're quick to come after you for your HOA fees if you don't pay them." That's not necessarily true. It's people been 15 years have not paid their dues, and we've gone to collections, liens, everything. We still haven't got the money. Like LaShawna said, if we foreclose on the house, then the HOA is the last person on the totem pole. So now you got a person or a family is out of a house, and we still don't have the money. So I'm glad there's so many people on here, and I hope that you will tell your neighbors and explain to them this. The reality is, it's not an easy thing to pursue and to get back. So I just want to add those 2 cents. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, no problem.
Real quick, I have my hand raised. This is Tiffany Mitchell. I'm on the Brentwood side. My question is, what are the penalties for not paying it? I know it can't just be, we're going to let you go on the hold for 3 or 4 years and then we send you to collections. if they don't pay the dues within the year allotted, what is the penalty for that? Anything?
Yeah, so they had to pay the fees, they had to pay lawyer fees, and they could potentially lose their house. But it's not a quick process. I mean, if you go, like I said, we have people that's been delinquent for years. I mean, years. And we pursued them, but I mean, people are crafty. They change jobs. They may not have a job, or rest assured, if they're not paying us, we're not the only person that they owe, and we're probably not the only person that put a lien on the house. And because we're on the end of the totem pole, we don't get anything, but we definitely pursue them. So I'm just as frustrated as you are. Like, how can this happen for years? And the person is allowed to stay in the house. They're allowed to get their trash picked up. They're allowed to reap all of the benefits, but there's nothing we can do about it. Because you think about it. So let's just say use this year's fees, or the proposed fees of 2024, $1,000. So let's say they didn't pay them for this year. So now they're $1,000 in the hole. I mean, just think how long it's going to take to get that $1,000. So it's just it's
So,
no easy answers.
Do any of the
so
board members
this is
have?
Lashana.
Oh, go ahead.
So this is Lashana. Currently, right now, what we have in place on advice from council is that any account that is more than $500 delinquent is referred to the attorney. The attorney will contact that person and via phone and in writing, a letter mailed to the house, and try to work with them to get them on a payment plan. What has been happening is they have not been getting responses from a lot of the homeowners. And so there has to be a certain number. I think they contact them maybe 3 times. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. They contact them a certain number of times to try to work with them, try to get them on a payment plan. If they don't have success with that, they come back to the board and they say, look, we've been trying to contact these people. We've been trying to work with them, trying to get them on a payment plan to get this down. We haven't been able to get in contact with them. They're not willing to get on the plan, whatever. We need to move to the next step. So the board says, yes, move to the next step. And so they can take a district court action against them. Again, it's a very lengthy process. So then they have to give them a notice of what next step they're going to take. And they have so many days to respond. And at that time, some people say, okay, I want to get on a payment plan now. And so the attorney will set up a payment plan, and this is how much you have to pay every month. And then they'll pay for a couple months, and then they'll stop paying. So then we have to go back again and issue new notices. And so this is kind of this back and forth dance that we have to do with each homeowner that is delinquent and trying to recoup this money. It's a very lengthy process. Everything has to be documented. And because we've been advised by the attorney that courts frown upon HOAs that are too aggressive, we are trying our best to work with the homeowners to allow them the opportunity to pay before an actual lien is put on the house. So that's why we're having everything documented every step of the way. So by the time a lien is put on someone's house in Brentwood, we have plenty of documentation to show that the HOA has reached out to the homeowner, has tried to work with them, tried to get them on a payment plan, and it has not been successful. And then that's when we get the courts involved. We put a lien on the house. We are looking for assets. We are trying to find out where they work to garnish their wages. We're trying to be fair and give people the opportunity to pay, but when they don't, we have to resort to other methods to try to recoup this money. So I don't want the homeowners to think we're just sitting back like the developer and not trying to recoup this money. We are. It's just a very lengthy process. When the attorneys search for assets, people quit jobs. They're changing jobs. They're hiding assets, closing down bank accounts. So you can't garnish their wages. It's a very lengthy process. And if they decide to go on a payment plan and then they stop, we got to start all over again.
Okay, so
Michael, you got one more hand up. Ivy Martin has her hand up.
Yeah,
okay.
so my question is the developers are still building houses, and we're still paying for the developers' mistakes. So now they're building some more houses, 150 more over here, some over there. What happens when those people come in and they don't pay? So they're the developers are not responsible for anything. How do we get money from them when they're building houses and putting them in here?
I'll start off with that answer, and then I'll let Brian, if Brian is still on the line, he can finish up because he has more of the intricate ins and outs. But the developer's property is the developer's property. We have nothing to do with that. It's their property, and it's built into the covenants that once they open up a section, then it's annexed with us, and of course we get those houses, and those houses are added to the 540 count. But the developer does not talk to the board, say what we're planning to do. They don't ask us because they don't have to, because it's their property.
And so then we're paying for the houses that they're putting up as well?
No, we don't pay for the houses. The homeowners
No.
pay for
Well, I'm saying the dues.
No, we don't.
No. So
I'm sorry, this is Brian Creighton, Secretary with the board. Once the house closes, the new property owner will start making payments according to the month or the time of year that they have closed. So they wouldn't pay a full month. However, they would pay a prorated rate going into that year. Now, also what's in the covenant is, and I don't think Michael actually talked about this, and it's not on this budget here, but they actually have a buy-in, a capital improvement buy-in or a capital buy-in of $500 that's collected at the closing of each new property.
So that you're saying that each new property, once they close, then that $500 go toward the HOA fees for you all, so that
No, ma'am, I didn't say it goes towards the fees. I just said that it's called a capital buy-in that is within our covenants, within our bylaws. And that money's going to get allocated. That money's going to then show up as a new line item. And the reason why you don't see it here is because we have had no new homes in the last, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least two years, I believe. Section 7 closed about a year and a half or 2 years ago. So we haven't had any new properties come in.
okay, thank you.
I did
Mr.
want to
Chairman, so
add okay.
I have a question that, I mean, the more homes that's built in our area, right, and Brentwood, Linden Grove, that's still going to correlate to the following fiscal year. The HOA fee is going to go up that much higher the more properties you have, correct?
In a manner of speaking. So here's the thing. When the developer develops a new section, like let's say this section 7, right? Now they can develop a section and they can erect several homes and turn over the section to the HOA. But until each home closes, we won't get any revenue from that. However, if the developer builds an area and it has a new tot lot or it has this or that, and they turn that over to the HOA, the street is actually turned over to the county, then the HOA is responsible for maintaining the common area of that section, and that's independent on the number of homes that have been sold in that section, because number of homes equals revenue for the HOA, but a section turned over equals an additional cost for the HOA because we got to cut the grass, etc. Right?
Exactly, Michael. Theron again. So to your point, no, it's not. We get more money because we get the houses when the section turned over, but also Amber's OC, they're gonna give us another price for maintaining that, just to kind of echo what Michael was saying. So it's not a 1-for-1. We turn over and then we have more money, or vice versa. It depends on what services and how much Ambers and OC say we're gonna charge you now to maintain that area. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a rough idea how much more square footage could be utilized to build more homes that could turn over to, under the HOA?
I think it's like, but they have told us how many houses they're gonna put over into this new section where the road is going over to, from Maytide going over to Billingsley. They did tell us, I don't have that number right in front of me, but do they communicate their grand plan to us, how many more houses they're gonna build in the next 5-10 years? No, they don't, because it's their property, they can do what they want to do.
So this is Lashana. So as of right now, we did reach out to the developer and ask them, for planning purposes of the budget, are there going to be any sections turned over to the HOA in 2024? And the answer was no. When I say we, the homeowners took over the HOA from the developer, they have been saying that the final build out for the entire community is planned to be 710 homes. So we're at about 540 now. So they still have some building to do in the community. They don't have any sections planned to be turned over in 2024. That's what they told us. Of course, that could change. I hope it doesn't. We tried to stay in communication with them, but as it's been said before, they're the developer. They own the property. They're going to be here. They have the right to build and do. It's in our governing documents. They have the right to build and do what they want to do. So that's the information that we have.
Now, I will add to that. That doesn't mean that we are helpless in obtaining information, because one of the things that the developer has to do in order to build or start another section, et cetera, is they have to file with the county to be able to do that. And that filing is a matter of public record. So one of the functions of this committee is to periodically go to Charles County government and just kind of do some trolling to see if the developer is building in our area, or has plans filed with the county in our area. It's not something that we've been able to do yet, but it's something that we're definitely interested in, because like what was said earlier, the developer is not very forthcoming with information. However, they have to be forthcoming with information to Charles County, and that's a matter of public record. So that's something that if you are interested in continuing to be involved in this committee, that's something we're going to be doing periodically. I can't tell if there's any other hands or questions.
I don't see any more, Mike. I don't see any more, Mike.
All right. All right. So if you look here, line 39, the audit expenses, this is the CPA services with Strauss and Associates. The budgeted amount for 2023 was $1,450. The budgeted amount for 2024 is $1,450. So there's no change. We're just budgeting. If you look here in the notes here from Barkin, they're just budgeting the same for each year. That gives us our total professional services costs go from $69,225 to $72,623. In year to date, we've spent $29,463. Are there any questions on professional services costs? No, if you have your hand up, I can't see you, so just chime in. All right. Well, we'll move on to administrative expenses. So under now these categories were created by Barkin. So I have no idea why they have pet services or pet waste stations under administrative expenses, but I believe this is something that's invoiced by by Outdoor Creations. In 2023, we budgeted for $500, and I believe it's zero budgeted for in 2024, and that's because this expense is included with the grounds contract. So there's no need to budget this line number because that cost is covered in the grounds contract with Outdoor Creations. You have here office supplies. This is a zero budget in 2023, zero budgeted in 2024. Year to date, I'd have to go to the financial report to see what this $100 was actually spent for. I don't know if any board member remembers what that was for. I think it was just a one-off expense. But we'd have to look at the financial report to see where what that $100 was spent for. Next, we have printing expenses. Now you see a big jump here. In 2023, you see $6,589, but we have budgeted in 2024. You have $26,800, and the rationale here. So, as you have been told that the board is aggressively going after these delinquent accounts. So delinquent/violation notices are $10 plus postage, average of 140 delinquency notices monthly, totaling $1,400. Bulk community mailings are average of $2,500. Recommend budgeting for 4 mailings. Now the 4 mailings. Now this is anything that's that the HOA mails in snail mail to all the homeowners. We have the call for candidates. This is associated with the election. Call for candidates. This new budget that's going to be published. Any new resolutions, and then they have one extra in here. So that's the rationale for this added printing costs. Okay.
And there are certain things that have to be mailed. There are certain things we cannot email. They have to be mailed. So just want everybody to be aware of that we can't get around emailing everything.
Yes, sir. So now you have this postage. It went from $25.46 to $3,000. So there's an average of $250 per month for delinquency postage. Let's see, I don't have any notes here. I do have a note here: mailing to the community, general mailings, etc. Here's that telephone and answering service that was mentioned above. Again, Barkin says there's an average of $50 per month for managing answering service. Now, if Lashana or one of the other board members, can you explain? I believe it has something to do with when people call our account manager for Barkin Era. I believe there's some sort of answering service that's used. Can anybody speak to that?
Hi, this is Lashana. It's linked. It's when people call the routing of her number, but it's also linked to the portal. So when people contact through the portal, there is a message function in there where you can contact Barkin and you can send them a message. All of that costs to have that stuff routed to our account executive. So that's what that costs is for. It's
Thank you
mainly
so
from
much.
the portal.
So you notice here there was no cost in 2023, but there is a cost budgeted for 2024, and that's because we were with a different management company, and that wasn't something that they charged us for. I'm going to move on to bad debts. This is the doubtful accounts. This is how much or how many people we think are not going to pay for 2024. So if you look, there was the 2023 number we budgeted for 22 homeowners not paying their HOA dues. Here, we're budgeting for, let's see, what did I say? For 9. Now, we're not budgeting for 9 because we think that only 9 people are not going to pay. It may probably be more. You know, if I were to ask the board right now, which I won't, they'd probably say, oh, there'll probably be about 30, 35 homeowners that won't pay. But if I were to put in 35, then this number obviously would increase exponentially, and that would raise our HOA dues even more. Keep in mind, this is a budget. This is what we're anticipating having to pay. Hopefully, we don't have to allocate $10,000 for people that just will not pay in 2024. Hopefully, it's not more than that. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Does anybody have any questions about that? Because I know this is a touchy subject.
So, Mike, let me add something. I just did some quick math. So we were talking earlier about bad accounts and was it costing each homeowner? And we were also talking about, so when you do the math on that, that portion comes up to be $76 a month. I mean, $76 per house. And
is
then
that annual or monthly?
That would be annually.
Okay.
And then what was the other number you just saw you showed me was 18,000? What was the last number you just showed?
No, here's the 17,000
No,
here
there was
and then
one
the
above
10,000
that.
here.
Scroll up a little more.
Not sure what you're referring to.
I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. Scroll down. Keep going down.
Okay. All right.
The printing. I think it comes up when you do the printing, when you do the math on it, it's like $18. So I just want to make the point that the biggest portion of the increase in dues is not because of the bad debts. The bad debts average to be $18 per house. If you do the math on the 41,000 for the replacement and reserve, that's $76 per house per year. So I just want to draw the comparison of what's really causing our dues to go up. It's not the bad debts, which only average $18 a year per house. The 41,000 in replacement is $76 per house per year. So I just want to make sure that people can see the difference. What's really causing our dues to go up? It's not really the bad debts.
Okay. Now, I do want to explain one thing in this line item. If you notice here, the actual 2023 number is 0, and that's the reason why that's 0 is because 2023 is not over yet. So even though we're billing quarterly, this report is an annual report. So it's not going to show a number in the actual bad debts line until 2023 is over. So that's why that's 0 here. Any other insights or questions? Any hands raised? Again, if you got your hand raised, just go ahead and blurt it out.
Yes,
Deborah
my name
Ball.
is Deborah Ball. And could you open up the part about bad debts again? I just want to see the number, the jump. Okay, so line item for number 44 in printing. That's a big difference between the budget and the proposed.
So budgeted for 2023 and proposed for 2026.
26,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I
explain
think
some of
that
that?
I think that the I'm not sure if there's a board member that can explain the fact or the nuances of the fact that we are going after more homeowners now, and a lot of these notifications have to be done in the mail. It can't be done via email. So is there a board member that can speak to at least the ratio of increase in the number of delinquent accounts you're going after?
So if you click on that field where it explains where that 2680 is coming from, from Barking. So there are certain things that have to be mailed out. Delinquency notices have to be mailed out. We see here the averaging 140 delinquency notices. So that ends up to be $1,400. We also have to mail out snail mail, call for candidates, the budget, and any new resolutions. Those things have to be mailed out. So that's why the cost. And everyone knows, I mean, cost of postages went up. So that's why it's so significantly more, because there are more delinquencies and we have to mail out certain things. And you're talking about 540 houses or properties that have to be mailed to. So that's why there's such a big increase.
So
Does that answer your
Wait a
question?
minute, you just said 540, but we're not mailing 540 people because not all of us are, some of us are paying, so I don't think that's 540.
No, but some of the mailings have to go to every home. So like the call for candidates, the budget, any new
You
resolution.
said delinquencies.
So they're averaging 140 delinquency notices monthly. That's about 140 delinquency notices equal about $1,400 a month. That's how many delinquency notices have to go out.
Okay.
So $10 per delinquency, and it's averaging 140 per month.
hi, this is Brian Creighton Senior. I got a question. If we're increasing line item 44 based upon more delinquencies, but we're not increasing line item 47,
Yeah, that makes
that
sense.
doesn't really make any sense to me.
Right.
I believe the rationale is the sending out of the notifications will curtail the bad debt line. Now, keep in mind, this is an annual amount. So the hope is sending out these notifications will prompt people to actually pay, and we'll actually get that money by the end of 2024, because that's what this when you look at this $10,152, that's by the end of 2024, not the first quarter you have X amount of delinquencies. This is, so the hope, I believe the hope is that sending out these delinquency notices will prompt people to pay.
That still doesn't explain what he just said, what he asked. Because I'm with him. No, because that's 20,000. Wait a minute, that's $20,000 difference in printing opposed to bad debt being 10,000. So I'm confused.
Oh, you know what? Here's what I will say too. This bad debt line is super aspirational, and I think all of the board members would agree it is unrealistic. The board members would probably say that line should probably be, I don't know, $50,000. I don't know. I mean, because if we were to really be honest, there's probably going to be a lot of people that's just not going to pay, especially with the HOA fees increasing from $700 and something to $900 and something. So, I mean, to me, it seems like there's probably going to be more delinquencies. However, if we were to put in, let's say a number that's a little bit more realistic, let's say 45,000. Then our HOA dues would be something like, I don't know, $1,500 a year. Again, so this number it's speculative, it's aspirational. We're hoping for the best. More than likely, this is probably not going to be enough. And we're probably going to have to.
I have a follow-up question.
Brian, hold up. Brian, let me get in. I think that I see what you're saying, Brian, and I'm sorry, ma'am, Deborah. So I see what you're saying. If the bad debts is 10,000 and we're spending 26,000 just to notify those, I get what you're saying. Not even 10,000. So the actual money is 1,400 times 12. That's how much money they're estimating is going to be sent out to notify people of bad debts. 1,400 per month times 12 months equals 16,000. So I get what you're saying. If we're going to spend 16,800 mailing to try to collect 10,000, we're hustling backwards. So maybe that's the number that we need to take another look at and go back at Barking and see if we can trim that down, because it may not be meeting the snuff there. I mean, we should spend more than what we are trying to collect for that year. So that's a great point.
We can pay that debt.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So this is LaShawna. I want to remind everyone that this is the draft budget that Barkin has prepared. Nothing is finalized. The purpose of this meeting tonight is so that the finance committee can go through and make recommendations to the board on things to change. This is one of the things that I saw when I was reviewing the budget. So this will more than likely change because it is very low, in my opinion, from looking at the reports of how many homes are delinquent right now. Additionally, that line item is not just for printing delinquency notices. It is also for the things that we are required to mail out to the homeowners. So all of those costs are in there. It's not just for people who aren't paying. It's also for, like it's been said before, sending out the budget. We're required to send that out. We're required to send out any new resolutions that the homeowners have to abide by. So all of those are encompassed into this one line item.
Yeah,
Also,
LaShawn, I get that. I get that, but the amount that's in this 26.8, the amount for delinquencies
It's the bulk of that money.
is more. It's 16.8. So we're saying we're gonna spend 16.8 to try to collect, and then another 10,000 in the mailings that we have to mail out. So to LaShawna's point, this is the right form where we can adjust this. But I get that why that's a flag. We're spending more to try to collect. So I think that would be a recommendation from the finance committee that maybe we can adjust that. But to LaShawna's point, we don't know that 10,000 may be 30,000. So it's a delicate balance in that, if how you want to play that. But I see both sides of the coin.
I do want to add something as well. As the finance committee chair, I do want to let the board know, since you're all on here, this $10,152 is more than what Barkin suggested. This is my suggestion. Barkin is only suggesting $9,000. If you look here, this is their version. They're only suggesting nine. So this is an actual, as much as, I saw it as logically increasing it without having an insurrection amongst the homeowners because of our HOA fees going up by $1,000.
I think that
So again, this is
question, Michael.
Yes, sir.
If we continue to keep that bad debt extremely low, isn't there a risk of us not meeting budget if something was to, happen? Because again, we
absolutely. And what's going to happen is the board is going to have to pull money from our existing reserves just to take care of regular bills. Now, again, you guys as the board can take this line number 47 and take the suggestion and say, hey, let's make it 50 G's, whatever you want to make it. It's just, again, this is my recommendation that would at least ease the pain. And again, at least add more than what Barkin had. Because I don't know if you can see your screen right now, but Barkin only had $9,000 allocated for this.
Okay.
We reduced certain things in other places and added to this just to try to make it, I don't know, it's infidecimal, I understand.
Right. Yeah,
I
guess my point is, if we're going to spend, I think that maybe that number, again, this is where the finance committee, 16.8 is the number that's in there to mail delinquency notices. We should not spend more mailing delinquency notices than what we're trying to collect. We understand that this is all pie in the sky. This is what we anticipate, but we should not anticipate to spend 16.8 trying to collect 10.5, 10.1.
My suggestion to the board would be to request that Barkin create a separate line item just for delinquency notices, and then have that delinquency note. Then you would be able to see it visibly right here. This is how much we're spending on sending out delinquency notices, and this is how much we have for doubtful accounts. And you can compare apples to apples. I think it would be more clear in the future for budgeting purposes for the board to be able to have that laid out in that manner.
And what I would say, Mike, and what I would suggest is that the finance committee make that recommendation to us, and let's see if we. So this, like you said, this is the time to make changes to it. So I think that that's one of the things that the finance committee make a recommendation that, okay, the line
I'm gonna
item
write that down as a note here.
Yeah, I think we should. I like the idea of creating a separate line item for delinquencies, so that we should not be. I mean, we're going in the hole trying to collect. I know that we can ask them for fees, and we can add on fees to anybody that's delinquent. But I mean, that's years down the road of collections. I just think that's something that we need to look at closer. And I would ask the committee to make a recommendation on the number. But I get what you're saying. We don't want to increase the bad debt to $50,000, and then the dues go through the roof just to justify 16.8 in mailing. So I just think that's something we need to look at.
20,000.
Okay.
You got a hand up, Mike. Taylor has her hand up.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead. I can't.
This is Kanisha. I just wanted to ask a question about those line items. I don't think we need to belabor it. However, if you've already mentioned this, I apologize, but is Barkin providing an itemized listing of these expenses? And the reason I'm asking is because a few meetings ago, we were told if we have any questions or need to reach out to them to do so. And now we have a $600 fee on here for telephone answering service. So then why tell us homeowners to contact them anytime if that's not the case and you're charging? So if, this is almost like a lawyer charging you $50 for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, so that's my first question. And then the same thing for what you just said. I don't know if there's any double dipping going on regarding the delinquency notices, because if I saw that correctly, it said that it was $10 plus postage. So it's not even $10.
Because they have to remember this is a printing line. So yeah, you're right.
I understand that, but
So
again,
it's the $10, and then so this is just printing the delinquency notice. If you see what I have highlighted here, then you go to the next line. Now you got the postage, and that's postage, $250 per month for delinquency postage. You see that?
yes. So that's why I'm asking the question. If it is, if we are provided, or if the board is provided rather, an itemized listing, because I don't think we should just be going off, and it's no disrespect to you all. I know you know what you're doing, but I think it would be beneficial for us to be clear, or the board to be clear, instead of this, where's the $10 fee coming from? As far as I know, if it's an estimate and so on, but I definitely think that needs to be clear. At least it's not crystal clear to me. If you're charging $10 plus postage, there's a line item for printing, a line item, and so on. So I just wanted to bring that to you all's attention. Thank you.
Well, since you brought that up, if you could, I'm not sure if you see this on your screen. This is a copy of the monthly financial report for the month of June. And this is something that is sent to the board. And they have a version of this. They receive a version of this that's very extensive, that has a lot more information than what you see here. This is the version that is available to each homeowner. And to your point, if you actually look at this report, these are just a bunch of graphs and things. They like doing things in graphical representations. But if you look, I'm going to try to get to it. Okay, so now you can actually see. No, actually, I think there's one here. This is the best one. So if you actually start on page 7 of this document, this is the budget variance for the period of June 2023. And you have, remember I mentioned those Barkin numbers? I'm not sure if you were on the call at that point. You see the Barkin numbers, and then you see the description. So let's say you take, I'm looking at the Barkin number 6311. So I'll go to 6311. Where is it at? 6311, right here. So you have printing here, and you have postage here. And keep in mind, you see here the year-to-date actual and the year-to-date budgeted. So this is what this column here is budgeted for 2023. This is what we've spent for 2023. That's why it's important for all the homeowners to go to the portal and to download these reports so you see what's actually being spent. So you see here this printing line. So far in 2023, we've spent $64.90, and you can go month to month, and you can see, okay, well, this is how much we spent year to date for printing. This is how much we spent year to date for postage, and you'll see that number go up from month to month. So there is visibility on what Barkin is charging us for at any given time. And again, I think it's important for not only the board but for us as homeowners to pay attention to these reports and this information that's being provided to us, because it's really going to give us a lot of the answers that we're seeking, and we can be our own watchdog and find out if there's any funny business. Is there any double dipping? Hey, wait a minute. I thought line number such and such was for this cause, but we didn't pay for any of it. We don't have this, or we don't have this item. I remember there was earlier in the report, there was something about some ambiguity about some irrigation costs or whatever. So wait, do we even have an irrigation system? So things like that, we're able to look at and see exactly what we're being charged for versus what they've said we were going to be charged for. And this is why it's also important. And another thing that this committee is going to work on doing is making sure that we have all the current copies of every single contract, and if possible, any pre-established invoicing. Invoicing that we may receive from these different companies or vendors. Does that make sense? Okay. Are there any, oh, wait a minute. There's one more line under administrative expenses, and this is miscellaneous administrative expenses. This is something that did not exist in the 2023 budget. That's why I have NA. Year to date, we've spent $220, and we have budgeted $500. So what in the world is this for? This is like a new cost since moving to Barkin. It says 500 for miscellaneous expenses, courier services, file storage, elections,
I thought we were paying for that for somewhere else. I thought that was in some other part of the budget, like postage and whatever.
Not file storage. I know that. Look, and the board members can probably speak a little bit more intelligently about this than me, but I do know that there was a plethora of files that needed to and probably still need to be transferred, and I'm talking physical hard copy files, from Century Management, the old management company, to Barkin, the new management company. And I would imagine that this $220 so far is associated with that cost. Some of that cost. Again, I don't know if there's a board member that has any insight on that, but this was definitely
That's
something
correct.
that was
In the transition, this is LaShawna. That's correct. In the transition from Century Management to Barkin Management, Century did not have electronic files. So there were several boxes of HOA files that we had to get from them. We had to use a courier service in order to get them delivered to Barkin. And then for elections this year, we used a election service because they messed up the ballot. We ended up getting that for free, but it's not going to be free in future years. We're actually going to have to pay for that service. So this is in anticipation of election software that we use so people can vote electronically. So we don't have problems like we've had in the past with reaching the quorum so that we can move on in the annual meeting, et cetera.
LaShawna, this is Brian. Wasn't the fee for the election software, wasn't that the fee this year, $200?
No, it wasn't.
How much
There
was?
was a fee. They messed up the ballots, the initial ballots, and so that cost was refunded. So we did not pay for that election software this year.
Right. And so we also didn't meet a quorum the first meeting. So that software really didn't establish a quorum as it was kind of explained to us that it would help us establish a quorum. It was just a matter, it's just basically a fancier version of a DocuSign.
Well, do you remember, Brian? Remember that one election we had where it took us like 45 minutes just to count how many people were on or something?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it was really ridiculous.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's
So
because
what the software did was it allowed people to be counted prior to the meeting to count towards quorum. So the fact that we didn't have quorum is not any fault on the software. That is just lack of participation from the homeowners. What the software does is it counts for us. So we're not on the phone for 2 hours like we were with Century, calling out addresses and calling out homes trying to see if we reached quorum. It allowed people to count towards quorum even if they weren't going to be able to attend the meeting, and it allowed them to do it in advance of the annual meeting. So not meeting quorum is not any fault of the software. And again, we were refunded that cost. So it did not cost us for the software because the company made an error.
Okay, can I speak? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. So it was a two-part failure. One on Century, because Century had the ability to go in and count the people who did a DocuSign prior to the election. And so yes, I was on that call for about 45 minutes as the old as far as the old management company was trying to call out the addresses and stuff like that. But my question again is that we are in a we're in a, I hate to say this, we're in a budget crisis because our fees are going up and I just don't, I'm just trying to see if this election software is really needed. I mean, we can use other software or DocuSign as we have in the past and still do the things we need to do as long as the management company can count those items and those documents as they come in prior to the meeting to establish quorum.
So Brian, you know this line number is not just election software. It's the other expenses listed here as well. The file storage, the courier service, et cetera.
Right. I know.
Okay.
So,
Just making sure that was clear.
Thank you.
So I want to make sure that we understand that this $500 is less than $1 per house per year. So we're at 2.5 hours. I just want to make sure that we use our time wisely. We're talking about less than $1 per house per year.
D-Ron, yes. So I mean, I'm just speaking my piece, D-Ron. This is an open forum. I'm not trying to, haggle anything. I'm just when it was brought.
What I'm saying is, my only point was, if we can, I'm not one way or the other. My point is, if we want to look at not using that software, using the software, or even having a meeting in person, that's fine. But I guess my purpose as far as this meeting is not even going to change the price of what we're going to pay. So I'm just throwing that out.
We get out in open forum. That's all. I appreciate that.
Okay. Are there any homeowners that have any questions about the miscellaneous administrative expenses or any of the total administrative expenses that we just talked about?
Brian, I'm sorry, not Brian. Michael, Deborah has her hand up. I don't think you can see that.
No, I can't. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. Move on. I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Move on. Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we're going into the taxes and insurance section. So we pay a real estate tax, To Charles County, last year it was 1975. This year it's budgeted for 2074. They're anticipating a 3% increase, and it's typically billed in July. So this is this is no change between what Barkin is suggesting and what the committee is suggesting. We have here Charles County personal property taxes, and I believe the reason why this is zero, you see here it's zero for 2024, but we had $35 for 2023. I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that that's actually included in the real estate property taxes amount, and that's why it's zeroed out here for 2024. Next, we have our insurance through State Farm. We have we have property and liability insurance. We see a reduction here from 2840 to 2540. It says in the notes here, the average coverage for April 30th, 2023, April 30th, 2024, they anticipate a 10% increase from the 2398. Now that 2398 is what was paid the last time that we had to make a payment. So that's what, and that's not depicted on this spreadsheet. But that's the rationale that Barkin is giving, and the committee here, we're going along with Barkin's recommendation. Along with State Farm, we have our deductible. Our deductible is $2,500. No change from 2023 to 2025 as far as what we're budgeting for. So we're anticipating or hoping that if there is an event, there's only one event per year. So we would only have to pay our deductible one time in 2024. Or hopefully we don't have to pay it at all. Year to date, we've paid nothing. So we haven't had any instances where we've had to pay our $2,500 deductible to State Farm. We also have this Fidelity bond insurance through State Farm. In 2023, we budgeted $750. In 2024, Barkin is suggesting that we budget $708. Currently, we're paying $49.50 a month, and they're anticipating a 10% increase. Are there any questions on taxes and insurance?
Hey, Michael, I have a note here. What I haven't seen is the state business assess or tax filing for the state of Maryland. That's about $300. I know we weren't in good standing a few months ago, and I believe that has been corrected by Barkin by filing our business filing to the state of Maryland. So I was wondering if that's going to be added to the budget.
Okay, so I think that definitely is an item that needs to be added. What I'll do is for this line item here under the personal, I know it's not personal property tax, but can you repeat what that's called? Is it called a state business filing?
Yeah, it's a Maryland state business filing. Every business that has either LLC or a corporation within the state of Maryland has to file an annual return.
And you said it's $300 annually?
Yes, it's about $300 annually.
So that'll be another suggestion, a suggested modification to the budget. And what I'll do is I'm going to leave that zero for now, just until it's resolved. But by the time the budget is actually published, or by the time the board votes on the budget, we'll populate that $300 here, potentially. They may even be able to use this Barkin reference number for that instead of creating a new one. But that's something that maybe the the treasurer and Eric can work out. I think that's it for taxes and insurance. If you notice here, the total amount for taxes and insurance has actually gone down slightly from 2023. If you see the 8,100 here and the 7,822 here, so that's at least it's not an increase, right? So the next thing I'll do is when you look at the operating expenses, that's just a total of all of these expenses that you see above. And then if you take the net income minus the operating expenses, then you'll see that's the net operating budget. But we're not done yet. Now we're getting to the fun part. The repairs for reserves. This is very, very complex. I'm going to try to take my time with this. I hope I don't lose any of you all. It's very frustrating to wrap your brain around. So I'm gonna do this pretty slowly. Okay. I'll start by showing you House Bill 107. This is a copy of House Bill 107. This is the third page of that bill. This is what it looks like. The first page from the Maryland General Assembly. This was passed in 2022. I'm going to just cut to the chase back where I was on page 3 and show you this highlighted area. I'm just going to read it verbatim. I know we all know how to read, but I'm going to read it verbatim. The bill requires the governing body of a cooperative, condominium, or HOA, if the most recent reserve study was an initial reserve study, to attain the annual reserve funding level recommended by the reserve study within 3 fiscal years following the fiscal year in which the initial reserve study was completed. That sounds like a bunch of gibberish. Here's what it basically means. Prior to this bill being signed, we weren't required to have reserve studies, and we didn't have reserve studies. And I don't know if you guys remember what happened in Florida. There was some condominium that collapsed or something, and that got everybody freaked out all over the country. So Governor Hogan pushes this bill, and it says, not on my watch, not in my backyard. Every single condominium, HOA, cooperative, you will have a reserve study done. You absolutely will. And you're going to have to have an annual contribution to that reserve study that to your reserve study account or funds that matches what the reserve study recommends. Now, this is where it gets real confusing, because most people, when they hear that, they think, okay, once our reserves get to 50,000, 100,000, we can just simply stop contributing. That is absolutely not the case. This is an annual contribution amount. We have to, according to the reserve study, we have to contribute an annual amount. Now we're going to get to the heartburn. So this is a copy of the reserve study. Now keep in mind, House Bill 702 and this reserve study has been sent to the homeowners several times. So you probably have this somewhere several times over. This is a copy of the actual reserve study. I'm going to cut to the chase in this because there's a lot of mumbo jumbo, but let's get to the bottom line. Page 11 is what we want. This right here. Let me zoom in on it a little bit. Oh boy, this is the part that kind of like keeps me up late at night. The part that really most people have heartburn with. This reserve study now they do it to where they have this contribution amount based off of different methods of funding. it seems the most logical method of funding is where you adjust for inflation. Because if not, then you're going to have to be manually adjusting for inflation as the time comes. And it's probably better to just get the bottom line. Just give me the bad news up front, Doc. Give it to me straight. Okay, so remember, uh, uh, House Bill 107 gives us 3 years to get to the annual contribution amount recommended by this study. This study recommends that we contribute annually $55,963. That to me is insane. But this is what the reserve study says. It says, listen, because of the size of your community, etc., this is how much you need to be contributing every single year just to have enough money in your coffers to maintain this community. Fix the tot lots. There was a sinkhole in that open field at one point. I mean, all of these things are things that the HOA is responsible for maintaining. So this reserve study, again, is saying we have to contribute $55,963 every single year. And you have 3 years to get to that level of funding every single year, right? What we did, and we started this last year, I'm gonna, hopefully I can go back to my other document. I think I have to stop sharing. Stand by. I'm gonna try to go back to the spreadsheet. Because we thought contributing $55,000 in 1 year, that's gonna break the bank for everybody here. So what we did is we said, since we have 3 years to ramp up to that level of funding, we said we'll take that 55,000 and we'll break it up and into 3 equal parts and add the additions incrementally every year for 3 years. So last year, let me see if I can bring it up here. This is the published budget from last year. I don't know if you can see this. Last year, we did $18,654.33. And if you do some quick math, that's just that 55,000 divided by 3. So if you take 18,654 3 times, that'll get you your 55,000, right? So this year, what we said is, so we did 1/3 last year. This year, we do 2/3. This is what gets you your $37,308.67, right? And again, like what Theron was saying, is this is the bulk of our increase. Now, here's the part that nobody's going to like, and I'm really going to ruin your day with this. Next year, this number has to increase to the 55,000, whatever that number was, $55,963. Next, so this is going to go up even higher. That means when you look down here, I'm showing our annual HOA fees at 900. It's going to be well over 1,000 next year because we're required by law, House Bill 107. By next year, we have to be contributing annually over $55,000, right? Now, does everybody understand that part? Because I have some more bad news after I say this. Does everybody understand that part? Is there anybody that does not understand that? Because this is the bulk of your HOA fees right here. And this is the bulk of, I'm pretty sure, everybody's heartburn. So if you don't understand this part, you're really not even really understanding the budget, because this is the cause of your pain, essentially. I can't see any hands or anything. So if there's somebody that has a hand raised, let me know. You ready for some more bad news? I guess so. All right, so here's the deal. We're required by law to have a reserve study done every 5 years. That means 5 years after this initial reserve study, not only are we going to have to pay over $3,000 to do another reserve study because it costs money to do a reserve study. But that number, 55,000, whatever it was, that's probably going to increase even higher. Because guess what? We're going to have Section 7 that we got to maintain. And we're going to have other costs, the cost of inflation, adjusted for inflation. So every 5 years, we're going to have to do another reserve study. And this reserve study annual contribution amount is going to increase. Your HOA fees are going to go up next year, and they're going to go up a lot. So I would suggest, just try to get this right in your spirit. Just prepare, go through the 5 stages of grief. I've already been through them. I'm still kind of going through them, but this is what it is. I told the first incarnation of the board that if they did any funny business, and my wife is on the board, I said I would be leading the charge with my pitchforks and my tiki torches because this is ridiculous, right? Well, now that I'm seeing the numbers, it's like, the board is doing the best they can. So when you see, let's say, Theron and Ryan kind of going back and forth about this, $500 that may be infinitesimal, it won't affect much. It's like, look, we're trying to do something. It's at this point, we're really just grasping at straws, trying to keep costs low, and also trying to keep risk low. So when we're talking about the allowance for doubtful accounts being way too low, right? We can raise this up, we can triple this. And that tripling of this is probably the more realistic number. But guess what it's going to do to this $915 down here? Now we're probably going to, we would be paying, I don't know, I'm just, saying this off the top of my head, $2,000. So now we're paying $2,000 a year. No additional services, no pool, no clubhouse, no baseball diamond, no new toy, basketball, whatever. This is just the cost of doing business. And it stinks. I hate it. I got to pay it. I'm trying to pay 2024 now because I don't think I can just come up with $900 in January, So again, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is kind of what it is. And before I say the last thing, I do want to ask, does anybody have any questions whatsoever about this reserve study? Because I know that there are people that have been looking at this for years and still didn't understand it. So I really want everybody to understand, particularly the intricacies of this reserve study. Anybody at all?
Michael, this is Brian. I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
In the bill, does it state any type of ramifications if this law is not followed?
It does not. Now, I did not see any indication, and I didn't read through it line by line, but I did try to peruse it, looking specifically for fines. What I would caution the board is I would not venture to try to get into a non-compliant status because that could probably be more problems than what it's worth. You already saw the thing about the tax filing that we weren't doing, or whatever that Maryland state business filing that we saw here. So the last thing we need is costs associated with fines from the state of Maryland, in addition to having to fund the reserve study anyway. You know what I mean? So that's a scary path to go down, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I wasn't asking it to venture down there. I was just asking as a general question if you saw any type of fines or any type of
Interior, garage, door.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
just up there.
I didn't see anything that was overt, and that's something that this committee can kind of look into as well, just to see if something happens to where you guys are not able to do the contribution of
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what if we,
what happens? What happens if you
can't
yeah,
do
if you
and
just,
what if we
now,
just
now keep in mind though, keep in mind, you're not in trouble yet because you don't have to meet that level of funding until 2025. So technically, we don't have to contribute anything in 2024. The problem is if we didn't contribute anything in 2023 or 2024, and then hit the homeowners with this increase of over $55,000 in 1 year, it would be such a jolt to the system that, I mean, I don't think anybody would really be able to physically pay it. So that was the rationale, and I'm not sure if you were on the board at the time. I think you were, but the logic was with the old treasurer was to add this contribution in increments, just so we can kind of posture for being able to pay the 55,000. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Ms. Deborah. I have my hand up, and I guess you don't see it, but anyway. So, what is the insurance cover? What if you have some kind of insurance on here, and what does that cover? Yeah, property and liability. That just covers what? Common areas.
Does one of the board members want to take that? I believe that it's, let's say somebody like slips and falls and hurts themselves in one of the common areas or
Like
one
I'm
of the
saying,
top
that's
lots.
common areas, sidewalks, stuff like that.
That is my belief.
Okay, so what does your homeowner's insurance cover? If
No,
somebody
see,
falls
you
in
have to
front of your
understand.
house?
You have to understand. Your homeowner's insurance covers for if somebody hurts themselves on your property. The HOA's insurance covers if someone is hurt on HOA property, which is the common areas.
That's what I just said. I said that. I said, does that just cover common areas and maybe outside sidewalks? Is that what it covers?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
that's what I said. Then I have one more question. So you said something about the breakdown for the 37,000. And it's only due, and it's only due in 24. So why you don't break that down in half, and that would help with the budget?
No. I don't think you're understanding it, ma'am. Let me tell you.
All right.
The number is, and I'll see if I can get to it again. I'm going to stop sharing this screen right here, just so you can actually physically see it. The actual number is $55,963. That's how much this reserve study is saying needs to be contributed every single year, right? But we don't have to start contributing that until 2025. Instead of contributing nothing until 2025, we said, hey, let's gradually phase this in, just so that the homeowners are getting accustomed to paying an increased amount for replacement reserves. And then by the time we get to 2025, we're going to be contributing $55,963 annually. And it's not going to be as jarring to the homeowners going from contributing. I believe that old number was actually $500. We were contributing $500 a year. So to go from $500 a year to $55,963 would be definitely a jolt to the system. Now we don't have to contribute. Like let me go back to the other screen because we are suggesting that we contribute the 37. Keep in mind this is the Finance Committee's recommendation. And that's what you see with this line number that I have highlighted. I'm going to go to this tab here. This is what Barkin is suggesting that we contribute in 2024. And I'll go to the line number 62. Barkin is suggesting that we do the entire amount in 2024. That would create such a huge hardship. And that's why one of the reasons why their number here is $958. I know it's not much, but by us reducing that to $37,308.68 at least helps us, among the other things that you saw above, helps reduce that number to $915 as
Okay, so you've
opposed
already
to,
broken it down.
yes.
Okay, that's my question. That's what I
Okay.
was looking for.
I'm sorry, can you just go
Anybody
back to
else?
the market number?
Okay,
If
let's
we
go to
were
the
to pay
Barkin number.
the 59,000, I just want to see what
Uh-huh.
what would that HOA assessment look like?
That's this number right here. I'll make it red and bold.
Thank you.
Right
Okay.
here.
Gotcha.
Now keep in mind, there's other changes that we made to this budget to change from this 958 to this 915 here, because this is not the only change that we've made. We made other changes, or the finance committee is suggesting other changes other than this repair and replacement line. But all of that culminates to a reduction to the $915. Is that clear? Or is that unclear to anyone? Okay. I do want to say one last thing. The way that these budget projections work, in this net profit and loss line, when we do our budgets, it has to be budgeted to 0. So that means that there can't, there's not supposed to be any like money left over. You put all the dollars somewhere. This is why when we had, we reduced the cost of this thing, and let's just add that number to. If you look here, this is a perfect example. If you look here, this bad debts. Well, Barkin only suggested 9,000. Well, we had a surplus somewhere of $1,152.33. So we just simply added it to that. That's how we got this number. It was just any extra money we had, we threw it into the bad debts line. So that's really all I have. I do want to encourage everyone to, and I'll bring it up on my screen real quick. I do want to encourage everyone to go to the Barkin portal, and I encourage you to look at the finance report. This here that I have on the screen is the monthly financial report. We get one of these every month. Anybody that has access to the portal, a login, you just go to the document section and you'll see a financial report section. There's a management report section. I encourage you, if you want to know what's going on in our community, look at this management report, because look at what you see here. You see the most recent board meeting minutes. You see a manager's report. You see major projects. You see a schedule of service contracts and even a calendar. So, excuse me. Anytime the board has an open meeting, there's minutes that are taken. And if you want to see the most recent minutes, you can look at the manager's report. If you want to look at these board actions that are being taken, you see here. If you want to see people that have submitted architectural requests, even that's included here. Another thing that's good is this major projects. So if you have any questions on, hey, what's going on with the there's something about Todd last night. No, here's one that's good one. Vandalism and picnic tables in the playground. So I don't know if anybody's heard about what was going on with that. Some people were spray painting, graffiti, etc. Well, they as of this report, the repairs of that have been completed. Now, I believe I heard somewhere that the vandals came back and they did some other vandalism, but at least for this particular instance, Barkin coordinated with Outdoor Creations to get it cleaned up. Tree demolished by vehicle. I mean, these are all of the things. If you want to know what the board is working on, what are these things? I believe that these things are important to this committee as the finance committee, because a lot of these things, there are costs associated with a lot of these things. So the finance committee needs to have purview on these things that where it's going to be expenses coming down the line that we'll have to address. I don't know if you remember when the helicopter crashed here, where the board had to take some action on that. Uh, uh, all of this, I won't read through this, but when you look at we talked about earlier the fence repair, and you see here that the current status was the repairs were completed pending board painting as of this report. It might be done by now, I'm not sure, but at least you can kind of see. Okay, well, no, it's not like nothing is happening. Things are things are being done. You heard our secretary mentioned that we weren't in good standing with the state of Maryland. That's addressed here. All of these complaints, people were complaining about a truck being parked on Bancroft Drive, a semi cab. That's being addressed. So if you ever want to know what is happening, are my complaints being heard? Is anybody even doing anything? Please look at this management report. It will help you. And then if you want to be able to follow the numbers, follow the bouncing ball, look at the finance report. It will really help you, especially when you go to these board meetings and they're talking about these things and they're voting on things, and we don't get an opportunity to chime in on that, and we don't get an opportunity to say, hey, what is this thing that you're voting on? They don't even really have a lot of time, because like I said in the beginning, they are addressing so many issues. They can't sit down like what we're doing right now. We've been on this call for almost 3 hours. The board does not have time to do that and just focus on finance. But we have the ability to do that in this committee, because all we care about is the numbers. So I would suggest anybody on this call, let your neighbors know this is the place where you come if you want to get detailed answers. Now, please remember that the board is typically not on this call. So it is kind of a blessing that they have volunteered to stay on this call this long. I'm really shocked that they stayed on this long and been able to provide their insight and even some recommendations. So but typically the way that this committee works, it's just the finance committee, and we are reviewing documents and we are analyzing certain things and we are making recommendations to the board. So I think it was very beneficial to have them here. I would even say too, because this meeting is recorded, anyone that that may have missed this meeting, this is going to be posted. You can go back. I mean, we were talking very fast. You can go back, listen to it again. Maybe you have something that may spark another question. Email the finance committee, even if you have recommendations, because again, this committee is going to make a formal recommendation to the board for consideration and the modification of this budget. And then it's up to the board to determine what they want to finally vote on and publish. So I'm going to go ahead and close out, because like I said, we've been on here for 3 hours. So does anyone have any final thoughts, any questions, anything? Again, can't really see you, but
okay, this is Miss Deborah.
Okay.
I got my hand up. I just want to say thank you. It was very informative. This is the first time that everything has been broken down where you can totally understand it and you listen to the input. And I want to thank the board members for being there. And it was very informative and I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah. This is Theron. I want to thank every one of you for being on here for 3 hours. I really appreciate the dedication. And just to echo what Michael is saying, this is the place where you get the understanding and you can get the information, because when we have a board meeting, that is the time is so constrained. that you can't really get this far in depth. And it's very rare that we're going to stay on here for 3 hours. But I thank each and every one of you for being here and being receptive to the information and being understanding. And Michael, I really appreciate you going through the budget the way that you did. So really appreciative of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, the recommendations that the modified recommendations that were brought up, I will make those changes, and I will be submitting a formal recommendation to the board. I am going to wait a couple days just in case there is some input from any homeowners that may listen to the recording and may want to chime in, and they may have some ideas that might be insightful or helpful. So, but it'll definitely be long before you guys have to vote on this, that you'll have an official recommendation from the Finance Committee.
One question, Michael. Is a quorum required for approval of the budget? I don't know if that's for you or if LaShawna knows. Is there a quorum required the same way that's required for election?
No, the only quorum required is going to be within the board of directors.
Gotcha. Thanks.
All right. You have any final thoughts, Brian?
Michael, you did an outstanding job. I want to again thank each and every homeowner that that participated. I know some homeowners had to drop off, but great job explaining it, breaking things down in bite-sized pieces. I do have one recommendation that I would like the Finance Committee to take a look at, and this is actually, the recommendation is actually from a HOA within Prince George's County. They have real quick, they have a private road and they have to maintain it, and they actually do a assessment. So they'll do an assessment every, I think it was every 4 years, a special assessment in order to maintain this private road within this community. I was just wondering whether or not the board, the committee could look at if a special assessment could be something, could be another way to collect this money that we're required to collect, within that, what is it called? The special, not the special assessment, the, what is that?
Placement in reserves?
Yeah, replacement in reserves. Correct.
Okay. I'll go ahead and write that down.
Again, great meeting. I enjoyed it, learned a lot, and thanks again.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry, I just have one quick question. What's the email, Finance Committee at Brentwood? Is that, if we have another question? Oh my gosh, Ezekiel, stop.
Yes. Let me try to bring that up. I'm going to try to see if I can possibly put it in the chat, just so you can just copy it and paste it. Let's see. I want to make sure I get it properly. It's sorry, it's just taking a while to get it. I'll say it here. It's brentwoodinc.finance@gmail.com. But let me go ahead and place that in the chat so you can possibly copy it.
So Michael, while you're doing that, Rachel has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
No, just with the few people that were on, I was wondering if people could tell me how they heard about the meeting and what was like their reminder that got them, just like a communications bug for myself. If you guys wouldn't mind telling me how you heard about the meeting.
Can we drop that in the chat? If anybody wants to drop in the chat how you heard about the meeting so that Rachel can help with, I guess, the communications committee. So you can just drop it in the chat, probably be best, versus everybody just rolling through saying how they heard about it.
All right. So once again, the finance committee email is brentwood.inc.finance@gmail.com. And I have placed it in the chat if you're able to copy and paste it. But again, if you're just dialed in, it's brentwood.inc.finance@gmail.com. All right. I'm not sure if Lashana is still on. If you are,
I am. I don't have anything. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Excellent presentation. See you next time.
all right. Okay. Anyone have any last questions? If so, please use the email and we can address it that way. And we'll get this to the board as a recommendation as soon as possible, and then they can peruse it and make a determination on what they would like to vote on in October. Uh, uh, just really quickly, I do want to say just one more time that the timeline for this is on the 18th of September, the final budget draft has to be submitted to the homeowners. And the homeowners will have 30 days to review the final draft of the budget. And then on the 19th of October, we're going to have an annual budget meeting. And the board will vote on approving the finalized budget. The next finance committee meeting is scheduled to take place on the 23rd of October. That may or may not happen. We may just wait until the budget is finalized and sent out to the homeowners, because remember, the budget has to be sent to the homeowners. So once all the homeowners actually have the finalized budget, then we can have another finance meeting, and it'll be definitely shorter than this one, but we're just going to kind of go over a comparison of what was changed in the draft versus the finalized. All hearts and minds clear? All right. Well, thank you once again for joining, and please encourage your neighbors to, if you don't participate in any other meeting, I would suggest you participate in this finance meeting. All right. Thank you all. Good night.